Welcome to DAYZ. This one's going to be a little bit different. If you ask just about any experienced DayZ player what two areas of the game they think need to be improved, it's pretty much a sure shot that they're going to say AI and then they're going to say base building, right? It's really bad. It's not in a good spot, and I really have hope in my heart based on Wobo's like premonitions about the Badlands update and just the DayZ devs knowing what the player base wants, that they have to be doing something with base building. I'm really hoping that they are, and if they're not with Badlands, they have to be doing it soon after, because I truly feel that if base building was good in this game, it would just soar to heights unseen, unimagined, honestly. But currently it's in such a bad state that when you get to the end game and you got yourself a plate carrier, you got an M4, you're blasting homies, it gets to a point to where I don't even want to build a base. And that's really the crux of the problem, is base building doesn't feel good to the person that's building the base. When I build a base in vanilla DayZ, I feel like I'm being detrimented, like I'm anchored to something that's holding me back and makes the game more difficult for me instead of easier. And if we really look at almost every zombie apocalypse, infected apocalypse, any of these experiences, all of them are going to have the same end goal in mind. They're going to say, well, we need to get to salvation. We need to get to the military camp that's protected. We need to get to this place where all of our homies are. We need to get to a location where we are secure from the outside world and the situation that's happening there. If we look at modded DayZ and we see the opposite side of base building and how it can be a negative, and also this can happen on vanilla DayZ, but we see giant monolith bases, which ultimately like detriment every other player on the server in a way that's unfair towards them. So we have modded where when you build a base, you become God and everyone else is a peasant beneath you. And then we have vanilla where you build a base and then everyone else becomes God and you have to open this stupid padlock over and over again. So first off, it's bad right now because padlocks are the worst mechanism in the game. With 100% certainty, I'm telling you now, padlocks are the bane of every player who builds a base. It is so annoying to have to tick with no UI, try and figure out what number it is and count to each roll. It's terrible. Collision on base building is really bad. There's only two options for base building, one of them being a giant wall and the other one being a giant tower that has the same size wall 3 times. That's not a good two options. The base building storage options, the things that we take, put into our base and then put a bunch of loot in, are ugly. Who wants to build a base and put a bunch of giant oil barrels in there and just throw guns inside of them? We should have like a gun closet. We should have like a bookshelf. We should have like a dresser. We should have a fridge that maybe we could plug into a generator with electrical cable and pliers. We should have a lot of things that make our home feel like a home. Because of the way that base building is, and because there are no sleeping bags in game, and I'm not saying we should have sleeping bags, but I do have a good idea for this, trust me. Ooh, that's pretty good actually. Because of the way base building is, if I'm looking at it intelligently like a person who wants to build a base, I'm gonna look at the map and I'm gonna say, well, when I die, I'm gonna respawn on the coast no matter what. So if I build my base super far across the map, right? When I die, I'm gonna spawn way over here. I'm gonna have to run. By the time I even get to my base, I'm already going to have all the gear again. I'm going to get a plate carrier. If I build past the northwest, I'm going to have a plate carrier by the time I get back to my base. So people who are building a base to get more gear and secure more loot and make sure that they have an easier time through this apocalypse, they're going to be incentivized to build next to the coast because they want to respawn and run 20 feet to their base. And what does this do? Well, if I'm a player who hasn't built a base on the server and I just spawn in and I'm running up to Dubrovka or some shit and someone's got a giant base right there and they just got their loot, they're going to be blasting. They're going to be super defensive over this location that they have spent so much energy and time to secure. That's not like a shortcoming of these people generally. That's a shortcoming of the base building experience. It's put in a way to where we are incentivized, if we're looking at it like a smart person, to build as close to the coast as possible so we don't have to run as much. And then we just respawn 100 times until you get close to your base and then you run over there and you got your plate carrier. Top of all of this, there's no ability to claim land. So let's say I do build a sick base and I funnel it through a 1-door entrance. Someone else could come and build a wall and a wall and a wall on the opposite side and lock it in, and I can't get in my base anymore. Let's say you piss someone off and they ran past your base when they spawned and you shot them. They may come back and they may grief your base too. And this is something that can't be in the game. There has to be something blocking players from that. So I'm not, like I said earlier, I don't want to sit here and just like, DayZ sucks, dude. I'm not trying to do that. I don't want to beat the game up. I enjoy this game very much. I enjoy it enough to make this video that may not be received well. Padlocks are terrible. I talked about it earlier. Having to like look at the code and 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 without getting shot. When you finish unlocking the padlock, it falls on the ground. Honestly, there are good mods, like Zentichrist has a great mod for padlocks that kind of removes a lot of the problems that you're going to have with padlocks. It allows you to just look at the wall in 1 2 3 4 and it will open for you without having to enter the actual things. It also gives you a user interface. So at the bottom of your screen, right over here, it'll be like, when you're rotating the numbers, it'll be like 9 8 7 6 5 whatever. It'll actually show you what you're moving. Zentichrist has already made a mod that literally improves the vanilla experience so much when it comes to padlocks. I hire that guy. That guy's got like 5 mods that need to be in vanilla DayZ. He also made a 5 dial, a 6 dial, a 7 dial. You can't even be code rated. Alongside this, digital code locks. Digital code locks. We should have those. We have a generator in the game. And this goes back to something that I kind of hinted at earlier, is the world feeling alive. If I have a generator running in a base and someone runs by that base and they hear the generator, they're going to be like, yo, someone is actively in that base right now. They're going to be maybe hunting me in the area. They're going to be maybe looking around for buried stashes. They're going to be knowing that someone exists there. And that just goes to make the world feel more alive. What makes the game enthralling for me is finding traces of players. When I go to a fire and I see that someone recently cooked there and I see a bunch of drop loot, and then I go into another building and I see a bunch of pieces of paper like they opened ammo boxes. And then I go ahead and I find a dead player, but he's stripped completely. Or if I find a bunch of downed trees in a location, anything that makes the world feel alive. Because those moments where the world feels alive are what differentiate an adventure beyond interaction, beyond someone shooting at us or someone trying to talk to us and be our friend. Finding things in the world that kind of give you a hint that the echo of someone was here, those make a giant impact. So if I'm walking past the base and I hear a generator inside there, I'm going to be able to plot on this person. I'm going to be able to maybe even fear this location. It will do something in my brain where I go, oh shoot, I'm not alone. I have to be aware of my surroundings. And that is really what makes DayZ beautiful. Us only having 2 options for base building is ridiculous. Mainly because the giant fence that we turn into a gate, that giant wall that I probably couldn't fit in my bedroom here, that giant wall, if it hits anything in the world, I'm talking a pot on the ground, I'm talking a stool that fell over, if it hits anything in the world, the piano, if it hits the piano in the piano house, anything, you can't build it. All of the little things in the world stop you from building. If the ground is slanted like 5%, you can't build it. There are so many limits on this giant wall that we're supposed to be using for base building, and that's our only option. We should be able to build a tiny little doorway, like down a slender hallway. We should be able to build a doorway in that hallway. We should be able to take a door that's already on a building, and we should be able to reinforce that door. Because of this part of base building being clunky and the UI for placing items being so restrictive, because of this, we are incentivized to build in giant industrials, places with like wide expanses of area that are completely flat without question and have no obstacles in the way. The ability to customize a house is so impactful. And this next part, I'm gonna be honest, this is something that I think some of you guys are gonna hear this next one, you're gonna be like, that's lame, and that's okay. But one thing that I've thought of is it would be cool if we could find a blueprint for a house. For example, the green mustache house. I think A lot of players who play DayZ look at this house and for some reason they're attracted to it. Maybe because it looks like a little mustache on his face. That's why they call it green mustache, for those of you that don't know. But let's say you wanted to build in green mustache, right? And you're like, I really want this house. You would quickly realize, first off, you can't put a wall in the first gateway. You got to do something. It would be cool to me if we could find a blueprint for that house that would then allow us to build or not build different options in the house, like a customized blueprint that has already built-in locations where we can build. For example, when you put the blueprint in the house center maybe, or something like that, or in a drawer in the house, you would now have access to reinforcing the door. It already has that like ready for you. If you just put the materials in it, you could reinforce the door. That way base building isn't so complex. For a new player, it could be something very easy. They find a blueprint, they say, oh, this house, and they look for that house, and then they find that house. They put the blueprint in the house, they go, oh shit, now I know how to base build. I don't have to watch a guide of this guy online. Beds in DayZ, where you can build a sleeping bag or a bed and then you respawn on that bed in your base. That's not good. That's not good for the vanilla DayZ experience at all. The threat of dying and starting over on the coast is what makes DayZ so powerful and beautiful. And if we strip that away too much, we'll get away from actually what makes every single moment of the game enjoyable. To counter this, I'm going to provide this idea. Survivor tickets. So let's say you got the radio transceiver, the giant radio backpack, and you brought it back to base, right? You put it in your base. You plug it into the generator or a battery or something. You plug it into an energy source. And maybe out in the world, very rare, like extremely rare at maybe the rarest locations, there were little tickets. It would be like a survivor ticket. And on it, it would say like, Morgan Johnson. And maybe it'd be crumbled up a bunch of times, but it would say like, hey, 96.8 frequency, 2 times a day. Please help. I need something, please. My friend's sick, or whatever it is. Just something to build lore about the person that you're bringing in, right? And let's say you're walking in a field and you just got shot in the head like DayZ does, and boom, you're dead. If you had one of those survivor tickets and you had brought it back to your base and you had used it to get this person, Morgan Johnson, when you die, it'd be cool if you spawned within 500 meters or 750. I don't know a number, but you spawn within proximity of your base. The idea of this being, once I have built a once I have built a spot that feels like salvation, I'm gonna want to bring more survivors in, a sort of strength in numbers mindset. And me respawning in my base, just grabbing my loot and putting it back on, it doesn't feel realistic. But maybe if every survivor in DayZ, every character model had a different name and a card that you could find, you could spawn in around your base after you die. If you want to use that survivor ticket, you only get it one time. Once you use that survivor ticket, you can't respawn around your base again. This would make it to where you would only really want to use this if you knew you were being raided, or if you had stored up maybe a bunch of them, you're just like, screw it, I don't care, I'm balling out of control. But it would make it something to where those survivor tickets would become some of the most sought after items for people that are at the late game. The reason I say to spawn them outside as well instead of inside, because I know a lot of you guys are like, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, if I'm getting raided, I want to spawn in my base so I could defend it. But that's not real. If someone was raiding your base and I'm in my base and someone shot me dead, and I'm in like a salvation camp in the apocalypse, in the real world, right? Into the thing, people are going to come from different locations. They're not going to like propagate in my base and then they're going to be coming from their house down the street. That aspect of making it a perimeter around the base is really cool. And also alongside this goes back to making the world feel alive. Let's say you're running past a base and you hear a generator on, and you look inside the base and you see these guys are balling, they got a lot of stuff. If you force people to spawn outside their base, if they use these survivor tickets, they are going to bury stashes. They're going to bury stashes all around their base. They're going to bury stuff in hidden spots, clever spots. And what is this going to do? If I'm walking past the base and I hear that generator and I see that money and I see that radio, I'm going to think, yo, they probably have stashes buried around here. And that is going to make the world once again feel more alive. It's going to make players walking through the world feel like everything is robust and moving. With this being said, we should be able to claim land. We should be able to decide who gets to use that radio. We should be able to make maybe not a group that's registered on the server, but we should be able to affiliate ourselves with that flagpole. I think some of these ideas are things that everyone is going to agree on, and some of these ideas are maybe concepts that everyone wants but maybe doesn't agree exactly. I'm not here to tell you guys or to tell the devs what they need to do with the game, right? I'm just here to say these are things that I think could be cool in the game and could move it in a way that brings in new players. Like for me, I'm incentivized to bring new players in because that is my favorite experience. Honestly, for me, coming across a brand new player that doesn't know how to play the game and being like, bro, yeah, let me show you this thing that I love so much right now. So I'm incentivized to do this in hopes that something's heard and they move something in a way that listens to the player base and then gives us new base building. I imagine it is incredibly difficult for the devs to do it, honestly, because the code or whatever the engine that this runs on is created for this and still broken as all hell. Like, I don't doubt that when they do this, or if they were to do a lot of these things, that they would break a lot of other things in the game and they would have to kind of do damage control and bring those things back. But most of all, I think if they did this, it could move DayZ into double the current player base. I think if base building was really good on vanilla DayZ, it would skyrocket the amount of people that were playing it. It would move it into, it's already in an echelon alone when it comes to DayZ, or sorry, when it comes to survival zombie infected experiences. It's already by itself at the top of the mountain in that genre. The one thing that it's lacking, and it's lacking majorly, is base building. That's my lecture. I'm sorry guys, I appreciate all you guys for watching. I've been wanting to make this video for so long, but it's just difficult with all these ideas to not ramble on and like leave you guys just like, bro, what's going on? This is so much information. But I hope this kind of resonated with you. I hope some of these ideas hit home. If they do, let me know down below. Be like, yo, that survivor ticket idea is fucking sick, or be like, yo bro, you're ugly. Whatever you want to say, it's okay. Let me know, okay? I care about you guys. I appreciate all you guys. Be good to each other out there. Or don't.